Recording in progress.
Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Service Without Excuses podcast, sponsored by Sotellus. Sotellus.com. That's Sotellus forward slash, or I'm sorry, Sotellus.com/Rob Lyon, ROBLYON. Thank you so much for sponsoring the show. I will keep that blooper right in there because I don't edit out video or audio rather, and whatever we happen to say, if it doesn't sound that great, it is what it is. So it's the mistake, but we'll fall through on it. We want to thank them again for sponsoring the show. They are the Cadillac of review management software. They are the king of it, in my opinion. They help continuing to get our customers feedback in one side of the business, as well as help promote our business with constant stream of online reviews from qualified customers to qualified customers that will possibly hire our services or give us a call, and I can prove that it's more than possibility. We have a consistent stream most of the year from people that decide to hire us, so we can't thank them enough for sponsoring the show. So we're getting back to the Ask the Coach corner. About a week or two ago, I had something in about effective employee, when the employee is no longer viable, when we should cut the cord and when we should make that difference. And this one's the opposite end of it. So in my business, I work with people that talk to me about things on all sides of the spectrum. They might talk to me from an ownership standpoint and say, hey, my people underneath me are not getting it, or this or that or whatever. But you do hear it from the other side up saying, I get it, but they're not communicating it correctly to me, or they're not doing what I think they should do, but they're my boss, they're my supervisor, and my boss sucks. And yes, I've heard those terms. Obviously, when they tell me these things, they stay between us. They don't go anywhere because I certainly don't want any ramifications or any indifference of treatment. So when somebody tells me this stuff, they say, yeah, my boss sucks. So the title of this particular podcast is, Does My Boss Suck? And the answer is that really depends, just like very much like the other one. So here's the design. We'll go to the management standpoint. We're not going to go to the boss. The boss, this particular boss that he was talking about, was his direct supervisor, as his manager. It wasn't the ownership of the company. It was somebody that's above him. So to manage, let's say the owner is the manager is the owner. We'll go to that standpoint. His job is to manage. Manage means you're trying to connect two dots. You're trying to say, this is the task that needs to be accomplished, and I need you to accomplish this task through direct communication and reinforcement and the support that I'm supposed to give you as a manager. If I bark orders at you and say, go do this, and you don't fully comprehend what you're doing, I'm not a good manager. If I am not willing and able to teach you that, sometimes multiple times, in order to accomplish the task they're asking for, I am not a good manager. If they are absent and they just tell people things for no reason, and I don't, again, have anything to back it up, it's do as I say, don't do as I do, they suck. All right, they're not a good manager. You have to look at the standpoint. Oh, here's another one. If you have a leader in front of you that you can respect, that you like, and say, wow, this person's, I really respect working for them, but they are the ownership, or the senior leadership is pushing us so far that we can't complete the tasks in a timely or efficient manner, and it's pushing us further behind, causing more stress and causing more chaos, and we're all ready to say, to hell with it, go somewhere else, because the market right now, believe it or not, is ripe to hire new employees. So this isn't the time that anybody should be pulling that stunt. As a leader, you should try to find out, your maximum threshold of your employees underneath you. So if you're a manager, and let's just say, and I'm going to go off on a little tangent here about this because this is very important, and your staff is working to maximum capacity. They're at 110%. They are doing everything they can do. They're making their goals. They're doing whatever's got to be done. But the senior leadership tends to throw more on because they go, wow, look how good they do this project. Look how good they do this stuff. And we never hear anything. And this is great. Now, the manager may or may not have a financial benefit based on, qualifications and maybe some bonus programs in place and some things that, are behind the scenes in order to accomplish things. So if they push them and they achieve even higher goals, they may be financial incentivized. Now that's okay to get a financial incentivized, not the cost to your people. I'm just telling you, it's not going to happen. I've been in that situation where people have said to me, hit this goal. And if you hit this goal, no matter how you get there, we're going to give you money. And if I did that, I would honestly share it with my guys. I was very upfront about it. And I'd say, listen, if I get the goal, I'm taking this and we're splitting, we're going to split it because we all accomplished it together. And that's the way I would do it, or I wouldn't do it at all. And I wouldn't care about it because it wasn't worth me to see my people burned out or fried out. I wanted a good workplace. I was not an easy boss. It was not a difficult manager. I just asked you to do the job. You were there every day. And if you couldn't do that, we had a problem with it. And I would work with you the best I possibly could to get you up to where you needed to be. But if you couldn't do it, you couldn't do it. Going back to the story, if that particular person is managing and they're pushing and pushing and senior leadership is pushing it down further and further, and you're not going to bat for your people and saying enough is enough, guys, I've pushed them to threshold. We can't go and lose the best people we have because we keep throwing it on them. I can't in good conscience take money from you and a bonus, or even if there's not a bonus, I can't continue to have our people pushed to this level at maximum capacity, at 130% capacity, when you're trying to throw another 10% onto them. You can't do that. That's a poor leader. I don't care if that person is the nicest person in the world. I don't care if that person seems to have great leadership skills. If they can't get in the middle, that's their job. Just like it's your job to teach the employees underneath you as a manager. It's their job to intercede and say, okay, guys, I'm sorry. This is the best we can do. If we push it any further, we're risking, people getting hurt, people missing, days because they get sick, people not accomplishing the goals, people burn out and quit. And it's very expensive to rehire an employee. And if you're, depending on the type of business you're in, if you're in a professional trade, in particular service trade, and you spend a lot of time, working with somebody, sending away to trade school, sending away to whatever school, you now lose all of that money, every dollar of it out the window because you pushed it too far. You're a terrible manager. You're a shitty manager. There's no other way I can say that. You need to be able to manage from a passionate standpoint, that you have something you believe in line with the common goals of the company. But there can't be a push to the common goals of the company to hit a goal that everybody is not on board with, that doesn't understand, and that is pushing particular sections of it. So you might have sections of the business where other people are not really going really crazy and not really busy. And then you might have a section of the business where those people are going at 130%, too much. You put 130% stress on a machine, okay, you're going to blow the machine. I don't care if that machine's $1 million and you put 130% stress on it for too long, it's going to break. It's going to blow, and that's going to be the end of it. And humans are no different. We're just as guilty as a machine, even though machines, quote unquote, will work better and more efficiently. It's just not true. Yes, to a certain degree they will, but they require maintenance and they have breakdown. And when they're pushed to the stress point too long, they will blow. A motor pressed to its stress point too long will blow. So it's no different than that. Your job as an effective manager, as an effective leader within your organization, is to communicate. Number one, most important thing, communicate the directives that need to happen, is to work with your people, to manage them. I could tell you a story when I used to run a carpet cleaning franchise many years ago, this is probably about 2004, 2003, 2004. I remember the back of the shop had this ramp, and the trucks would pull up the ramp into the building. The building was about maybe 4,000 square feet. And we had all these trucks would come into it and go up the ramp, and then that's it. So at the end of the day, my day as a general manager was long. My day would start first thing in the morning, be there usually before everybody else. Maybe my office manager might be there, maybe not. Actually, I don't think she usually was. And then I would have meetings with the guys. We get the trucks all checked in. We get them. Make sure they have all the equipment. Truck check-in. It involves everything from checking the oil in the front of the truck to checking supplies, checking in to make sure everything's on there. Is it the same thing as last night? Because we check out a truck at the end of the night and check in the truck. Seems a little redundant, but it is important because we had sometimes people going out at night with the same truck and then maybe not refilling the truck and not leaving anything there. So you had to go through a checkoff list of what needed to be on there. So then we'd have our meeting in the morning. We go over objectives and goals for the day. We would go over anything of concern. We would talk to each other about, something they ran into, and generally have a good carte blanche between all of us, good mutual respect to say, I understand that this is what happened. How do we make it not happen again? Or how do we make it happen again because it was something good and positive? You have to look at this and say what it is. And then, of course, the guys would go and do their route. We dispatch, and that was usually my office manager's job to dispatch as well. But we all could dispatch. We all could take in phone calls and move trucks from place to place and see what's more efficient and see how people are moving and seeing how people are producing on their particular job. They're producing better on this job. And they're going to be there a little bit longer for the job. They might have upsells, whatever the case is, and they're doing additional work. We have to make sure we find the other jobs to get covered by people. So you would always have certain people that were producers that would get things done and add on the job and get bigger tickets and bigger totals. And you'd have guys that just didn't care and wanted to go from job to job and would do 6, 7 jobs a day if they wanted to. They didn't care. They probably were a little frazzled by going to so many stops, but they could have gone to less stops. But there's always going to be a divide between the two. They go on with their day. Everybody's working. And then the end of the day comes. We come back in, check in the trucks. You're always usually talking shop with the guys. Somebody talking about some experience they had with a customer or something, some kind of crazy story or something that they ran into. And you would find that, you had this, again, this carte blanche, this relationship. There was never a relationship difference between a professional and that. Now, I legitimately loved my guys. I mean, for the majority of them, I loved them. I've actually, when I went into business myself, when they found out I went into business for myself, a number of them came to work with us. So, and it was a good relationship for the most part. And it was a good thing. We built, long-term relationships with each other. They would have, if they had a frustrating day at the end of the day, and they said they had, it could have been the ownership of the company that called them during the day and said something to them that they didn't like. It could have been a customer that said something. It could have been they were mad at me because they didn't think I had their back on something. Or they had even more important and bigger issues. You wouldn't think so, and it shouldn't be not your problem, but it is your problem. Your manager. You're managing their day and how they get things done. So they have problems at home, personal life. They have issues. Now, you're not a psychiatrist, and you're not going to give medical advice to somebody, but you're going to give them an ear, just like anybody else that gives a damn would give them an ear. And they're going to talk to you about, they had this and this at home and problems, and that's why the day was what it was. And usually if there was a problem, that's what I would get a chance to talk to them. That point of talk was not in my office, because in that office, unless it was really, something secretive, we didn't want anybody else to hear, it was something really personal home or a very important issue, I didn't do it in the office. 2 reasons I didn't do it in the office. I would never want to make it look like I was bringing that person into the office to scold or discipline them or anything personal action. I didn't want to do that in front of other people that might still be in the room, because it was a very open area. You had your shop, and then you had your general office where the office manager was. Then you had a storage room, an office manager room. I should say dispatchers in there, an office manager room, and a general manager's office. On the other side was your kitchen area and things like that. And I would not want the perception that I'm lecturing or demeaning somebody, unless that's exactly what I was doing and it couldn't be around somebody. I would always try to do at the end of the day. I prided myself on not losing my cool as much as humanly possible. There are rare examples of it, but I didn't want to do that. So the point of talking would be the backside of that ramp. I'm going somewhere with this story. The backside of the ramp, I would sit there, and usually at the end of the day, everybody's gone. It's 5, 6 o'clock. We start our day at 7 o'clock in the morning. We already got a 10-hour day in here, and they want to talk. Okay. So we would go to the back of the ramp and we shoot the shit, as the term goes. We go back there and we talk and whatever. And it could be this. And many times it was the person was ready to quit. The person was so burned out. They were like, I can't do this. I had this. My coworker sucks. This sucks. Whatever it was. And I would have to talk them gently off the ledge and say, listen, I get where you're coming from. I've been there. I understand everything you're saying. I'm not saying it because I'm a know-it-all. I'm saying it because I can physically understand it and have been where you are. And 9 to 10 times, I'd walk them back off the ledge. They left there and they were fine. They'd text me or call me at the end and say, thank you so much for spending time. Sometimes that time would be an hour or 2 hours. That sucks, especially when you got your personal life at home. You got your own house, you got your own stuff going on, and you're there till 7 o'clock, and you could have been gone and probably home by 5 o'clock. and you stayed there and did that. That's an effective leadership and effective manager. It doesn't stop when you want to stop. It's ideally you want to manage your time correctly because you don't want to burn out yourself. Okay. But you have to understand that there are other things going on, and you have to be able to work with those people. If they have personal things at home that are affecting their job, they're not going to tell you around other people. And again, I didn't want to do it in the office. And it's 3 degrees outside. We're doing it in the office, or we'll do it in the room when nobody else is around, or I'm out in the shop where nobody else is around. And it's that. But generally, the back of the ramp was the location, was a dedicated location of where we could discuss these problems. That's my job as a good manager, is to find out and to mold. If my people don't understand what's going on, that's a direct line to me. Okay. So if I have people, subordinates underneath me, and they are, it seems like it's chaos, and they're saying, we don't understand this. We don't understand this. And everybody's going around looking at each other going, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? That's a direct reflection, by the way, on the manager, first and foremost. Ownership could be part of that. I'm not saying it can't. And I have run into that where they can't get out of their own way. And I think me as an owner, I've done that myself at times, is I got to be the hyper control guy. And I realized over time, and very quickly, it took me a couple of years, I think, but I realized I have to let my general manager run the ship and do the job. But the reflection of the culture in the business was a direct reflection of how well our general manager did his job. If our staff was good and things flowed good and communication was good and we covered all those bases, then I knew my manager was doing a good job. I knew when I had a great manager. When I had a manager that worked for me at Clean Force One that was phenomenal at that. He was the best people person. People loved him. And unfortunately, at some point, we had to make a change, and it caused a real riff. And I understood that riff, and I understood the riff it was going to come into. And I had to explain to my guys that we had no options on it. It was just something that had to be done, and it was unfortunate. It wasn't something personal. It was just something that had to be done. But as far as communications and with our employees and people that he handled, he was the best. He was honestly a much better manager than I was. I would probably a good leader. I knew how to run the ship. But as far as the communication between the guys, he was phenomenal. All right. That was a good manager. That was a good leader within the organization. If there was a situation that he could not handle, he would come to me. If there was a situation that was beyond what he thought, he wanted some advice on it, he would come to me. But he would not come to me for stupid, trivial answers. I think back at times that when I was a manager for a company, the amount of times I would call my boss, I would fire me today back then. Today, knowing what I knew, he had more patience than I took him to credit for, because I would call him. And he said, call me with anything. And he was a little bit of an uber control freak too. So he liked to know all this stuff, and he didn't like to know it afterwards if there was a problem. And I look back on it and go, God, why did I call him so much? I should have managed the situation. Even if I was wrong, I at least manage a situation. So if you're wondering, long-term short, if you have a good manager or leader in front of you, does your manager suck? Or is your manager good? I hope these things have been able to narrow down the criteria on both sides. You as an employee, you need to bring 100%. You need to bring 110%, all right? Because you're going to have some slack off. There's going to be points to do it. So you always have to strive for better than 100%. If you want to move up in a chain, you want to do your job to the best of your ability. If that's what you want to do and you're a producer, you're going to do 110%. It's just the way you are. You're not going to do 80%, 60%, 90%, 100%. You're going to do 110 because you're an overachiever and you want to do that. And maybe you have a good relationship with the people you work with or the manager you work with, and that's how you're going to achieve those goals, is by putting out the 110%. But they also have a commitment to you to make sure that they are leading and they have your back. And if they don't have your back, and if they cannot, no matter how nice they are and how good they are at certain other things, if they can't break down the difference between pushing your people too far to the senior leadership or ownership of the company and you guys, they suck. And they have no right to have that job on, because that is their primary responsibility. They are the go-between between both of it. They're basically the coach of the football team. You're playing on the team. They're the coach. Okay. The coach makes the calls. However, the coach is responsible to go to the general management and the ownership of a business. So if the general manager is saying goals, push, I want you to see, get this many yards, get this, whatever it is. And the coach says, I can't do that. It's not that I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. And this is why. Because I can't push them to that level of where it's going to cause another secondary problem or potential injury to the players. That's their job. If they can't do that, they're not good at it. A manager is a coach. It's a mentor. It's a person that's helping them, giving advice, giving them direction, letting them to do the play. Now, certainly the coach is not out there catching the pass. Coach is not out there throwing the ball. Coach is not there running the ball across the field. He is telling you and mentoring you and training you on it. He probably most likely can't do it. He might have been able to do it at one point, but not necessarily or even close to it now. Their job is to have your back, go between you, general management, ownership, and you on the field. All right, guys, I hope this helped answer some questions for you today. Thank you again for listening to us. We also again want to thank our sponsor, Sotellus, Sotellus.com, Sotellus.com/Rob Lyon, ROBLYON, to test drive the world's greatest review management software for your service business. I think they're applicable to any business, but let's just say most of our listeners are service companies. And they will help grow your business and develop your reputation that others write about you and that you can take and promote and help your own business with. So it's a tremendous tool. It's a tremendous leveraging tool in your business. Also, feel free to subscribe to us wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever that happens to be, or in one of the hundreds of podcast sites I think we're on right now. Or you can also go to our website, robmlyon.com. That's ROBMLYON.com. And you can check out a bunch of tools and resources there as well. And feel free to email me directly, rob@robmlyon.com. I always like different questions. I get several a week, and I get through and try to put some of them in our podcast and also in our direct answers. But I got a lot of them. I got probably a couple of years worth of questions I can come up with in different episodes if I wanted to. But I thought this one was really interesting because we just did one on the opposite side. Okay. Thanks again for listening to us at the Service Without Excuses. We'll talk to you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.